everybody and welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, hi, my name is Anna and I am very excited for this video because this will be my first time participating in the Summerween readathon. I am so excited, okay? I am so freaking excited because I love anything horror, I love anything spooky, and what better than have, some spooky reads in the middle of summer. It is amazing, so that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. Last year I just really didn't have the time to participate and it made me very sad, but this year I promised myself that I was going to participate in Summerween, so here we are. It has already started. I think the official dates are from the 3rd of July until the 10th of July, so I am a little bit late because this is, today I think it is the 7th of July, which is, crazy, but we're still going to do this. Now, am I going to cheat a little bit? Of course I am. And the reason for this is because we have 5 prompts, and let me just go, to my phone and get them. Hold a little bit.
A few moments later.
Okay, so I have the prompts here. The first prompt is read a book in the dark or at night, which is something very simple. Read a thriller or a horror book, obviously. Read a new to you author. Read a book with pink on the cover, and read a book with less than 250 pages. Now, these are 5 prompts, which means that it would require for me to probably read 5 books in the span of 1 week, and that is something that I just cannot do, okay? It is not humanly possible for me. I am very much a slow reader. I read 30 pages in 1 hour, so it would just be completely impossible. So I cheated in the sense of I found one book that has all of these prompts, so that is exactly what I'll be doing because otherwise I wouldn't be able to complete all of these prompts. So I will be reading To Be Devoured by Sara Tantlinger. I don't really know how to pronounce her last name, but it's going to be here on the screen and I will be reading it on my Kindle. And actually this one, I have mixed expectations for this one book. Hear me out. So at first I found this, I think it was by Boston. I follow a channel here, I think it's Boston Gabrielle, and she absolutely loved this book. She gave it 5 stars. It is very much body horror. I do think it involves cannibalism as well. So it is just, very gory. But then I also saw Emma from Emmy Reads read this one book and she hated it. She genuinely did not like it at all. She gave it a 1-star rating and she said, everything about the cannibalism and just the gore in general, it was very forced. It was just to shock the reader. It didn't really have a purpose. So now I do have some mixed reviews, because I'm what am I going to do? Am I going to like this book? Am I going to hate this book? I actually don't really know, but this was the only book that I found in my TBR that matched all of these prompts because it has less than 250 pages and it has some pink elements on the cover. So it is what it is. I am kind of curious, because of that, because of 2 people that I just enjoy following here on BookTube and I enjoy their recommendations. One person loved it 5 stars, another person hated it 1 star. So I just really want to know, where am I going to go in the spectrum? But other than that, I do not have any expectations for this book. I actually don't really know what it's about. I think it's about a woman. She is obsessed with her partner and she becomes so obsessed to the point where she just wants to consume her, consume her so she can live forever inside her own body. So I do expect a little bit more of, a conversation about that, just some philosophical talk about it, how we can save someone inside of our own soul, is it really possible to just keep someone to ourselves, just a little bit more of that, because I don't enjoy horror just for the sake of it, I don't really want horror where it's just something scary or disturbing or gory. I do like when the author uses those gory elements and those horror elements to just maybe have some sort of debate or talk about a certain theme, so maybe that will happen here. I do not know. Like I said, I don't really know much more than this, but I am very excited for Summerween. And of course, we are going to have some fall activities. Not today though. Today, unfortunately, I just cannot have fall activities. I do have to study, so that is one thing that I'm going to be doing. I'm going to try and make, some sort of ambiance, maybe lighting a candle or another thing. But tomorrow, I do plan on baking some cupcakes. And I know it's not very, spooky, but to me, spooky reminds me of fall. Summerween is supposed to have some fall vibes, and what reminds me of fall the most is baking. So I'm just going to bake tomorrow some muffins. They're going to be delicious because I love the banana muffins that I bake. I don't know what they have, but they are just so good. They are so light. They're so fluffy. I just absolutely love them. So tomorrow, that is what we're going to do. But today, unfortunately, I don't really have much time. I do have to go and have some lunch now and then study for the whole afternoon, unfortunately. But honestly, like I said, I'm just so excited for Summerween because I hate summer. As you know, I hate summer. And actually today, this morning, as you saw, it was such perfect weather to start this Summerween. It's, it's a little bit sunny now, but the clouds are still up in the sky. It does have some gray tints to it, and I just love that. I think it was a sign that I should start Summerween today, and I took that sign very seriously. So we are going to start reading this book, especially at nighttime, so I can complete that one prompt. But like I said, I do not like summer. I hate the heat. I am so tired of it. I just really want to move on to fall already, and it's just the beginning of July. Literally, it's just the beginning of July, and I already want summer to just retire, pack its bags, and go. So it is very nice that I get to have, 1 week where I'm just pretending like it's fall. Obviously, I cannot pretend with my outfits because I would bake, literally boil inside those outfits. But I can at least pretend, in my mind that it is fall and try and conjure all of the fall vibes so I can just feel all cozy. But yeah, so unfortunately, I'm going to have some lunch now. Well, not unfortunately have lunch, but I'm going to have lunch, and then unfortunately, I am going to study for the whole day, but I will be reading To Be Devoured at night, and tomorrow I will bring you guys my first ever update of this book. Next day, and as I promised, I do have an update for To Be Devoured. Last night I read for 1 hour, and honestly I do think I'm going to finish this book quite quickly, because in just 1 hour I read 44% of the book, which is insane. But like I said, I have been reading this on my Kindle, and unfortunately I do have to say that I think I'm going to be leaning towards Emma's opinion on this book, because it does feel a little bit forced. All of the gore, all of the disturbing moments, everything just feels kind of forced, and it's just there to shock the reader. There's not really any philosophical questioning behind it all. So in this book, we follow one girl, and she is pretty disturbed because her life has not been easy. So a tragedy struck her family when her, I think it was the younger brother, and he died when he was 4 years old. And the way he died was pretty tragic because he decided to climb the ceiling of their house, and he just, jumped, because obviously he's 4, so he doesn't really understand any danger. He fell from the roof and he hit the concrete floor and he died immediately. And of course, her parents were devastated because they felt guilty that they weren't watching him properly, that they let something so tragic happen. And her mother, despite everything, she really did try to be there for our main character. She really did try her best to just be supportive and to be happy, but depression was really eating her insides. It was pretty quiet, but our main character understood that her mother wasn't really herself anymore. She was just very, very sad. Her dad, on the other hand, he was much more, vocal and expressive towards his feelings. He was always angry all the time. I think he even developed, an alcoholic problem, an addiction. And because of that addiction, her father one day killed himself and her mother. So he literally tied her mother up to the car, drove far, far, far away, and they just both drowned in the lake, frozen. And the only reason why our main character didn't have the same fate was because actually in that night she was at a pajama party. So it literally saved her life, and she was raised by her aunt, but she always had this sadness with her, which is comprehensive because her brother died in a very traumatic way. Her parents also died in a very traumatic way, and everybody at school mocks her because of it. She suffers a lot of bullying because she is seen as, the girl with no family, the girl with the dead family, or they also were really judging her parents and telling her that her parents were bad parents because they couldn't watch her younger brother, all this type of stuff. And she is a very angry person because of this. Our main character, she is constantly trying to fight people, constantly trying to, let them know that, no, my parents are good parents. They were good parents. They did the very best that they could. It was an accident. Nobody was at fault. So she did grow up very, very angry. And despite being to so many therapists, she has always been disturbed because of this. And the only light in her life is her partner, Luna. She is completely obsessed with her because she was the only person that actually understands her. She's the only person that sees more than the traumatized girl. So that's why she absolutely loves Luna, and they are in, what seems like a healthy relationship. But our main character, which I forgot the name, I think it's Artie. I think it's something along these lines, Artie. In one of her gifts, she literally decided to raise moths. I think they were a species that they are called the Luna moths. So she decided to raise those moths. And then when they died of natural causes, because obviously moths have a very short lifespan, she stitched them to make like a big moth, made out of wings. And of course, Luna is deeply disturbed by this, because they're dead bugs. And this is where you kind of see our main character going downhill. But the problem that I have with this is I'm at the almost towards, the middle point of the book, and she has derailed pretty fast. And of course, I don't really know how people who are disturbed, what their mental health is like, how fast they derail, how fast they go crazy, but it just felt too fast for me, because in the beginning, we do have some clues about her wanting to, consume dead meat, because she is constantly thinking about these vultures. She's constantly comparing herself to them, constantly, just thinking, oh, we're all just bodies to be devoured. All of us, our bodies don't really have any meaning. They are just meant to be devoured by other animals. And then she starts thinking, what if I become the vultures? What if I feed the same way as them? What if I eat dead meat? Would the animals that are dead live inside of me? She starts to question this. And of course, I do think this is not going to end well for Luna at all. I do hope she runs away, but I don't know if she is. But I just didn't really enjoy this because of that, because everything just felt so fast. And, we're halfway through the book. She's already having these thoughts towards her, beloved, which I don't ultimately think that she loves her. It's like her therapist said, you don't love Luna, and you're going to realize that you are obsessed with her, which is different. And you do understand that right now, because you're starting to see, I don't think you really like Luna. I think you're just completely obsessed with her, and you want to consume her. Like, you're so obsessed with her that you want to consume her. But my issue is, I think even the descriptions and the way the author is writing, it's just to shock the reader. There's nothing of value to these descriptions. It's kind of like, oh yeah, I'm just going to shock you, I'm going to shock you with these descriptions and what our main character is about to do, what she's thinking about doing. I'm just going to try and gross you out as much as I can. And I don't really enjoy that, because I thought we were going to have, a deeper conversation about, okay, what does it mean to actually, be devoured, Does someone's soul actually live inside of you when you devour that other person? If you consume the meat, do you stay with the soul? You can have a debate about this or some sort of like philosophical thinking, but no, that's literally not what's happening. It's kind of like the author is just asking these questions, and then she just leaves it there, and then she just continues on with the story. And I don't like that. I'm really not enjoying that, because again, it's just feeling like the author is just doing these things and talking about cannibalism just to shock people, like, oh my god, like cannibalism, oh my god, I can't believe you're thinking these things, she is crazy, that's literally the vibes that I'm getting. So I'm not really enjoying the book in that aspect, but it is what it is, I knew that there was going to be a 50% chance of me enjoying this book, loving it, or hating it, and unfortunately I am on the hating side. It's just lacking for me. I really wanted something different from this book, but I am going to probably finish it today or tomorrow. I don't even know. If I don't have time to finish it today, then I'll finish it tomorrow and give you guys an update. And today I'm actually not going to be baking. I know I said yesterday that I was, but I completely forgot that today is a very special day for me and my boyfriend, so we are just going to go out, have fun, just, celebrate our love, 10 years together, which is insane, by the way, how time just flies by. But I do want to give you guys a different type of update, and this one, it is kind of considered as fall, if you mean, because in March, I think it was March or the beginning of April, I don't really remember, I planted a pumpkin, and honestly, it was going great. It was going amazing. It was thriving. I'm going to put some pictures here. Like, I was absolutely bamboozled at how much this pumpkin was growing. I was so freaking proud. But, in the beginning of June, my pumpkin was actually, bearing fruit. It was actually growing pumpkins, and I was really, really proud. The problem was, every single one of my pumpkins would grow to like this size, and then it would die. Like, it would literally die, and this happened to so many of my pumpkins, like 10 pumpkins, and in the beginning, I didn't really know what to do. I did so much research on the internet, and some research said, okay, maybe the plant is overwhelmed. It has so much to feed, so many leaves, so many branches. So what I thought was, okay, let me cut out the big leaves, and that's what I did. It did not work. And then I cut out 2 branches, because my pumpkin has like one big ass branch. Like, it is long, okay, people? It is really, really long, and I'm so glad that I stopped growing, because, I don't know, I was afraid it was not going to fit on my balcony to this point, but I decided to cut out the 2 smaller branches. It did not work. My pumpkins kept on dying. And I was like, okay, search more on the internet. And apparently, maybe my soil doesn't have enough calcium. So I was like, okay, let me search. And eggshells have calcium. And because my breakfast, I have 2 fried eggs every single morning, I was like, okay, I'm just going to use those eggshells to put in the soil. No, it's just like nothing is working. I am watering this plant. I'm watering that pumpkin at the same time every single day because they want water consistency. It's also not doing anything, which it is so sad. Like, my pumpkin, I'm going to show you, it looks decrepit. It's decrepit. It is dying. I don't know what to do. And I think I just come to the realization, even when I was searching on the internet, that my pumpkin does not like the soil that it is in. And I can't do anything about it because this plant, it is huge. Like, I went to the soil and tried to see, and it has roots everywhere. Like, it's impossible to transplant and change the soil of that plant. So that pumpkin has to stay like this. But there is a tiny bit of hope, because there is one pumpkin that is currently growing. I think it's the only one, and it actually is from this size. Like, it is bigger than all of the rest. So maybe Maybe, and I don't want to jinx myself. Like, literally, I do not want to jinx myself, but maybe that one might grow. But let me show you. So I am filming this on my phone, so I do apologize for the audio, but my camera doesn't do very well with the sun. And also apologize, the background, everything is in construction because my apartment, everybody just decided to have construction done, and it did need, a little bit of renovation. So that is literally what is happening now. Everything is just torn apart. But look at my pumpkin. Like, look at this disgrace. Like, I can't even, like, I'm not exaggerating when I say this pumpkin is a freaking disgrace. There she is. Like, this is literally my pumpkin. Like, look at this. It is so sad. It is so freaking sad. Look, I have some dead pumpkins here because I thought, okay, at least give some nutrients. I have all of the eggshells around. I do have some buried, but like I said, it has a lot of roots, so I can't bury everything. But look at it. Like, it is just so decrepit. It is so sad. Like, a lot of the leaves are dying. And yeah, like, this is the branch that I told you about. Like, it goes all the way there. And I am glad that it's not growing anymore because I don't know where I would put this, okay? And look at the pumpkin that I was talking to you about. Like, look at her. Like, she's looking good. Like, she's actually very, very big. She is the biggest pumpkin that I've had. And this is giving me a little bit of hope because maybe this one might actually survive. I don't know why. I do have another one over there, but I don't know if that one is surviving because sometimes they actually die when they're little. And I honestly don't know. I'm gonna watch that small pumpkin there because if it doesn't end up thriving, I'm just gonna cut it off, so maybe all the nutrients go to this big one. But yeah, this pumpkin is actually giving me hope. I don't know why. If you have any advice on how to just revive my pumpkin, because like I said, we did have a big heat wave here in Portugal, so that is why the leaves are just looking very yellow. Some of them have died. I was watering my pumpkin twice a day during the heat wave, but it still didn't really help. And of course, as you can tell, because everything is under construction, right, there's not a place for me to actually put the pumpkin because the construction workers put it there specifically so they could just take all of this out. And the worst part is I do have these small plants here, but because these are small, they're easy to move. I can't move that ginormous pumpkin, so I can't even put it down here on the shade because anytime now the other set of construction workers are gonna come here to finish this all off. So literally, I don't know what to do. So yeah, like, that is literally how my pumpkin is looking. I am putting all of my faith into that pumpkin because she's looking good, she's looking big, she's looking strong. Maybe she's not going to die, but I don't know. I don't want to have a lot of hopes because all of the other pumpkins have died as well. And I legitimately thought that I was going to have a pumpkin for Halloween because that was my plan. Oh my god, it would be so fun if I planted a pumpkin and it actually gave me a pumpkin for Halloween so I can make a jack-o'-lantern. There we go. Sometimes it's hard for me to articulate words, but a jack-o'-lantern. But no, I don't think it's gonna happen because when I actually looked at that pumpkin this morning, I was actually oh my god, like, is this gonna happen? Is this going to be it? But because every single pumpkin has died until now, I don't really want to have too much faith. So yeah, that is my pumpkin update, which is very sad, unfortunately. If you have any advice, please let me know down in the comments below, but right now I have to leave. going to be my last update for my Summerween vlog because I have finished To Be Devoured, and honestly, I maintain the same thoughts, and unfortunately, I do have to side with Emma. On this case, I am giving this book 1 star. I didn't enjoy it at all. I just think, the number one thing that really bothered me was the lack of debate and just the lack of philosophy in everything that was happening, because one person doesn't really just decide to start eating people or fantasizing about eating people out of nowhere. I don't really think that's a spoiler, because in the beginning of the book, you do have some sort of introduction, and if you read it, you are going to be spoiled, and the book is called To Be Devoured. So, I don't know, it's not really a spoiler in my opinion, and that was just my main takeaway and my main issue with this book. And I understand that our main character, she is deranged. She's deranged, she is kind of crazy, she's very delusional, she has never healed from her own trauma, but at the same time, in the beginning, you didn't really see how crazy she was. You didn't really see how traumatized she was, to the point where she was fantasizing about this. It just kind of like started because in the beginning, you did understand that she was weird, but one thing is, kind of like picking up dead moths and sewing them together. To me, that's already deranged. I'm not saying it's not deranged or crazy at all. Please, if someone does this to you, leave immediately. What I'm saying is, going from this to then the next thing is, oh, I want to eat my girlfriend. It's just crazy. It was crazy. It was too much for me. I don't know if this is how actual crazy people derail. I'm not a psychiatrist, I'm not a psychologist, so I really do not know. And as you read the book, you do get to see that our main character, Andy, she's really not, going to therapy. That is also another plot twist, but I caught on very early on. And I know this book is short, but still, not even the plot twist surprised me, because I understood that she was going to therapy, but she also wasn't really going to therapy. It's just some very weird, deranged stuff happening in this book. And that's also my main issue, is that the author, it feels like she was just trying to shock the reader every time she could. Every time she could, she would add all of these gross descriptions. She would just describe everything in the grossest way possible. She would create weird scenarios and just weird things that our main character would do to just make everything more shocking and just disturbing, And I don't think that is a good thing to have in a book. I just truly feel like the author created the story to shock everyone, to shock the reader, and there, like I said, there was just really no explanation for any of this. She just kept saying, oh my god, I want to feel what the vultures feel. I want to understand the vultures. I want to fly with them. I want to fly with them to freedom. And I understand some point of that, because of course, if you are so traumatized like Andy is, you do want to fly away. You do want to find freedom. You do want to find some sort of life where you don't always think about the people that you have lost. You don't always think about what you have gone through, because even she mentions in this book several times that she has a graveyard in her mind, and everything that dies, around her, she's like, oh, I'm going to keep this in my graveyard. But she doesn't really want to do that. She wants to carry those people with her, and that's why she starts thinking in this theory of, okay, maybe if I eat other things, maybe if I eat people, they are going to stay with me forever. Their souls are going to stay with me. And that is why she becomes so consumed with the vultures, because vultures eat dead meat, they eat dead animals, and she's always questioning, do they carry those dead animals with them? Do they carry their souls? And then she's trying to become one of the vultures, and it's just weird. That's what I'm saying, it's just weird. There's not really an explanation for it, and I don't know. I just didn't like it. I think the author could have done something so much more interesting with this topic, and she could have debated a lot more. She could have talked about this theme a lot more, but the only thing that she did is, like I said on my last update, is she questioned it, or she made the main character, Andy, question, do I carry them when I die? And then she would just move on and describe what the hell she was doing, which was crazy and disturbing, to say the least. And there was just never really an answer. And I understand, when you want the reader to interpret in their own way, you want the reader to find the answer in their own way, but you also have to provide, a debate. And that is something that she didn't really provide. She just questioned it and just let it go. She never really tried to answer the question. She never really tried to show different points of view, because that is what a debate is. And then the reader can interpret and read those arguments and then decide for themselves. But there wasn't really any debate whatsoever. It was just kind of like, okay, I'm just gonna make Andy, our main character, do the most craziest shit, and it's just going to be what it is. That's literally what I felt like. So unfortunately, this Summerween was kind of a fail in terms of reading, because this book was not for me. I have to side with Emma. I don't really understand how people enjoy this book. Maybe they just want something creepy, something gory, scary. Maybe that is their type of book. I don't know. If it is, then you're definitely going to get that here. But to me, I always like some psychological thing going on, or at least some sort of debate, because this could have been, you know, a very interesting topic to delve into, and unfortunately the author really didn't do that. So in terms of reading, Summerween was kind of a fail, but honestly I still enjoyed my time filming this. I still enjoyed my time doing some fun fall activities, and even outside right now it is so gloomy. It is so gloomy outside. I am loving this. I am loving this weather, because after the heat wave that Europe experienced, it was crazy, you know, and I just love this weather so much. And honestly, I'm ready for fall. Like, I know it's July, but I am ready for fall. Like, literally, I just cannot wait for the fall weather to come back. Oh my god, like, I just miss it so much. And honestly, I do think I have to read more horror books during the summer, because there is some sort of like summer horror vibe to it. And honestly, I do think next year, you know, if the prompts allow me to do so, I think I'm going to try and choose a book that is more horror summer focused. And for that, I mean, you know, books surrounded kind of like in the water, or like summer camps, you know, just some really summer settings, so I can totally get the Summerween vibes. Because this one, you know, it was a little bit more wintry, it was cold, which I did appreciate, you know, I do appreciate that. But I think next year I really am going to try and find some summer setting for a horror book. I think that would be perfect for the Summerween vibes, even though I don't really like ocean books. But I don't know, just something that has to do with summer camps and stuff like that. Even maybe reading a young adult horror book, you know, just one of those campy young adult horror books where everything is just out of the top dramatic, you know. It might be fun to read that one. But I am so happy that I participated in this year's Summerween. Last year I didn't do it. I did not do it. I don't know why. I think it's because I was just so scared of the prompts, and I was like, I can't read 4 books in 1 month, or 5. You know, that's why this year I decided to cheat. You know, I chose this book that fits every single prompt, because I just can't do it. You know, I am a very slow reader, and I just cannot read 5 books in 1 week. It is impossible for me. And I don't even mean impossible time-wise, because I do think I could have time to read for a lot of hours. The problem is I don't like reading for a lot of hours, so that's why this year I decided to cheat. And next year, yes, I will cheat again. Okay, I just can't do it, you know. I just cannot read those 5 books in 1 week. But next year I will definitely be participating in Summerween. It was so much fun. And that's it for this video, guys. I do really hope you enjoyed this video, my first Summerween ever. And please let me know if you participated in Summerween. What books did you read during this week? What horror books do you like? Let me know everything down in the comments below. And please do not forget to like and subscribe, because it does help my channel out a lot, and it gives me a lot of motivation and validation to continue filming these videos for you guys. And I will see you on my next video. Bye!